So moving on into the second round, again, as is Bracket Brothers tradition, we will start at the bottom and go to the top. Starting with the number 2 Powerpuff Girls versus the number 7 Foster's Home. Again, this to me is it sounds like a tough matchup because again I loved Foster's Home, but I think what puts it over the edge with Powerpuff Girls is again, and I don't mean to keep harping on it, but Powerpuff Girls made it okay to like be a guy that liked a girl show, you know. Regardless if you think Powerpuff Girls was a girl show, and I don't mean to be, again, quick sidebar, I don't mean to be sexist in any way, shape, or form, but we're talking about when we were kids, where the way we talk about gender roles and things was a lot different. And I think for me, that's why I give this to Powerpuff Girls. I think both, again, were great shows, but Powerpuff Girls just had that empowerment feeling to it. I also like Mojo Jojo as a fantastic name and a great villain, so I give this to Powerpuff Girls.
For me, I think to kind of add on to your point there a little bit, not only was it like the show that said it's okay if boys like, superheroes who are girls, but also, hey, girls are superheroes too, people. Right. Like, let's not, mix any two ways about this. Girls can do just as much as guys can.
Also,
and like a lot of times in history, you just didn't see that. And I think that has changed. And this show was maybe not the first, but definitely one of the first in terms of my memory that I saw, wow, girls in power. But one thing about this show that I think kind of gives it an edge is also the characters and the villains. Mm-hmm. Him, I swear to God, is one of the creepiest villains, voice acting. Whoever that voice actor is did an amazing job and deserves awards upon awards. I mean, I literally had to crawl out of my own skin, it felt like, a few times watching episodes with him in it. So I give this to Powerpuff Girls. Foster's is a great show, but Powerpuffs, I think, had an impact on a generation a little bit more.
There's nothing else I can say. Foster's is a terrific show. I think, like I said, there was a lot of deep meaning in that show, and it played with the emotions at times. A lot of the times it was silly and stupid, but other times it hit you with, important things, right?
Hit you in the feels, yeah.
Exactly. But at the end of the day, Powerpuff Girls was generational. It's got to move on.
4-0 sweep there for Powerpuff Girls. Moving on to the 3-seeded Dexter's Lab versus the 11-seeded Johnny Bravo. Again, I'm not upset Johnny Bravo's here. I did vote for Codename ahead of Johnny Bravo. As I said before, Dexter's Lab was another one of those shows that I made time to watch. So I think the character was good there. There's some great moments. I think it was unique in its own right where, it just was different in how they approached some of the comedy on the show. So I go Dexter's Lab.
Good matchup here. This is, I think, an overtimer for me. I think Johnny Bravo was just that funny. I don't know what it was about that show that the one-liners were just so good, and both adults and kids could definitely get something out of it humor-wise. There was a lot of sexism, though, in Johnny Bravo. That was kind of the point, I guess. So I will say that.
But he never got the girl,
Right, yeah. That was kind of the point. Dexter's Lab, you also had that weird sidebar show, right, with the superheroes. I almost forgot about that.
Didn't they have mech droids? Did they have mechs?
Yeah. And I don't often think about. I almost think about that as a separate show. So that was kind of unique. That there was they had their own segments that didn't include Dexter. And boy, Dee Dee was just enough to just it would just piss you off, right? That she would just go in there and ruin everything. Or for some people, I'm sure they thought it was hilarious. Sometimes it drove me insane a little bit. And I think the thing that puts it over the top for me here is Mandark. I mean, that's Mandark. Iconic. Totally iconic. I take Dexter's in a close one.
Brody? DD, get out of my laboratory. Dexter's lock it in.
And Chad agrees with an overwhelming amount there. It is a 4-0 sweep for Dexter's Lab. That's going to be a good little matchup in the next round. Number 5, Courage the Cowardly Dog versus the number 13 Jackie Chan Adventure. Again, we've talked about this. I think Courage is a good show. I still give this to Jackie Chan. Again, I made time out of my day, out of my morning to watch Jackie Chan Adventure. I think it was always exciting to see what talisman they were going to grab. I think there was, Jackie Chan in and of itself is just a hilarious guy. I give it Jackie Chan. Lock it in.
So these shows, again, drastically different. Jackie Chan is a good show. Don't get me wrong. Was it creative? In some ways, yes, but in other ways, it was just about the famous real-life person, actor, and stuntman extraordinaire, Jackie Chan. I just thought that kind of limits that show. Courage pushed the limits of what a kid show can be. It's scary. It's uncomfortable.
I do not like scary. Just keep in mind that's why it's probably I probably lean that way.
And I'm not saying it's for everybody. And I'm not saying, by the way, I was a kid that would easily be frightened. And I feel like this show kind of helped me face like the typical fears, the spiders and just creepy dark hallways and stuff like that. I think that courage helped me out there. It gave me courage. Okay.
Edit that out.
No, that stays in. Good, close matchup. I liked both the shows. I just think Courage was a little more creative. So I go with Courage the Cowardly Dog.
Bros, what you got?
I enjoyed both shows. Like I said, I was kind of in the same boat as Cakes. I did not like scary stuff as a kid. So at the time, I really do think I enjoyed Jackie more. But putting the two shows up together, I think it's criminal if Courage doesn't win this matchup. It's so innovative. It was, like I said, it was scary. It was freaky. It pushed the boundaries, which I think is what Cartoon Network was all about. But it pushed the boundaries as a kid's show. And I truly, even though I didn't even watch it as much as I watched Jackie, I remember more things about Courage. I think it's just because of it was so polarizing at the time. It's criminal if Courage doesn't win this matchup.
And Chad agrees. Jackie, you fought hard. Scooby-Doo versus Billy and Mandy, no doubt in my mind this is Scooby-Doo. I don't even have to say anymore. Thank you, and bye.
Scooby.
I like Billy and Mandy a lot, but it's not Scooby-Doo. It's not Scooby-Doo. It probably drew some influence from Scooby-Doo, but it certainly isn't Scooby-Doo.
Fair enough. All righty. So on to our, this would be the Sweet 16 in the full bracket. And however, that is not the case here. So Scooby-Doo versus Courage the Cowardly Dog. We'll start with the 1 seed here. Again, I'm going based again. I have not voted for Courage the Cowardly Dog yet. Again, for me, I was not a scary person then. I'm not a scary person now. And I know it was more kind of psycho in your head kind of deal, and maybe it did give you some courage, Will. But for me, Scooby-Doo, again, that iconic show. I hate to continue to move 1 seeds on, but Scooby-Doo just goes far and beyond most of these shows, including in any of the brackets in terms of their reach. So I go Scooby-Doo.
Well, I mean, that makes one person that hates moving 1 seeds on. I'm not afraid to pull the upset card here and end this 1 seed. Now, I like Scooby-Doo. It's one of the first cartoons I watched, and certainly, all the movies that were made, Scooby-Doo meets the, I don't know.
This is a dog-eat-dog battle.
Yeah. Yeah, sure, dog versus dog. What, Scooby-Doo? Who did Scooby-Doo not meet, right? And then obviously Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island, actually one of my favorite childhood movies of all time. And it had one of the most iconic theme songs, the It's Scary Time Again. I won't get into it. I'm not a good singer, so I'm not going to do it for you guys. But I thought that Courage was just a little bit creepier. It was a little bit more creative. It sucked me in more. Scooby-Doo, you just kind of have on in the background oftentimes. And it was, for the most part, predictable. Like, yeah, what are they going to do at the end? Oh, they're going to solve the mystery. And who was it? Oh, my God, it was the farmer next door. Oh, my God, it was insert name here. It got kind of predictable. And Courage, you really didn't know how an episode was going to end. And to me, I think that's the difference, and I give it to Courage.
Broads.
I too am not afraid to challenge the 1 seeds. But today is not the day. Scooby-Doo has to move on.
Yeah.
It's polarizing almost as much as our number 1 seed from the Nick side, SpongeBob.
Yep.
It's just, I'm sorry, like it's not big. Courage is not a big enough show to challenge Scooby-Doo here.
It is not, and Chad agrees on that. So, moving on to the 2 versus the 3 seed in a phenomenal matchup, in my opinion. Dexter's Lab versus Powerpuff Girls. Again, both shows that I watched, both shows that I made time to watch. I think here's the thing though, and it's something I didn't think about when we were putting these brackets together, and now that we're kind of defending this show, it's come to kind of more limelight. I think that impact that Powerpuff Girls had for that girl power, girls can be superheroes too, has really resonated with me during like this short time we've been spending into this bracket. Let alone it being a good show and having good villains and good characters. I think for me, it kind of takes the show over the top. A lot of the shows that we're going to talk about at all, and for me, it is really a valuable thing to think about when you think about some of these are just cartoons, some of these are this and that. This truly has kind of that subtle meaning that you didn't think about when you were a kid, but now that we're 20 plus years old and can think about it, it has meaning behind having girls be the main characters, and I couldn't really find a show that resonated with that, or that was the same thing back then. So I go Powerpuff Girls here again.
Let me go ahead and go. I want Will and Chat to be the last 2 votes on this one, because this matchup is like, I honestly think we need to not overlook this matchup, right? I think this is
this is a tough one,
and this is tough. This is extremely nostalgic. Both shows, as far as I remember, aired at the exact same time. I even think they might have had similar art styles. It might have been the same people making it. I don't know. But,
just about to bring that up, but go ahead.
Yeah. So, man, this is so tough. I thoroughly enjoyed Dexter's. I think it had a lot of not deep, but it had a lot of storylines, right, with his parents, which, oddly enough, you never really saw a lot of parents in these kids shows, but I think that's a trend, right? I love Dexter. I think it's got a lot of, if we're going to be honest, it's got a lot of memeability these days, right? But if we're going to be real, without even looking at the things that Cakes mentioned about the empowerment and stuff like that, like as a show, I do think Powerpuff Girls was a better show, but not by a lot, right? And then I think if you do add on those things that Cake said, it just puts it over the top for me. It's got to be Powerpuff.
So I was just looking up just to see if it was the same animation company. They were both made by Hanna-Barbera. Clearly, you could see the similarities between the two. You could even hear the same sound effects. They used the same, like a lot of the same sound effects that they share. These are both excellent shows. Just not to be repetitive here. I thought that Powerpuff Girls is just a little bit deeper. And I mean, obviously you have the girl empowerment and everything with that, but the villains really stood out to me in that show. It really did for some reason. Dexter's Lab just good. It was a good, fun time. But at the end of the day, you kind of knew what it was, and it oftentimes just parodied those shows. But Powerpuff Girls, I think, really was just an anomaly almost at the time. By the way, the good humor in that show too. I don't think anybody's brought up the humor. Like, it was very well written as well. The mayor's character with the those were always some really funny parts of the show that I enjoyed. So Powerpuff Girls for me.
Yeah, Chad agrees. Powerpuff Girls takes it. I think I do have to do Dexter's Lab of Service and give it a phantom vote there. I don't think it deserves to be swept.
Yeah.
And again, we have a number 1 and a number 2 seed. And I think both deservedly so. I think both mowed through the competition. Powerpuff Girls swept to the finals. Scooby-Doo only losing 1 vote. And this is a tough one for me. I think I want to defer to you guys to starting with Brody if we can.
Yeah, I'm gonna go first. I was actually about to ask if I could go first here. This is tough. I love Scooby-Doo. I love Powerpuff Girls. I think they both were and are. I think Scooby-Doo's still going. Not really relevant, but I don't like the direction it's headed. I don't like the new art style and stuff like that. But that's not what we're comparing here. SpongeBob. Scooby-Doo is so nostalgic. I had all the cassette tapes, the VHSs. This is tough, and I hate to be the one seed guy, but it's almost quantity over quality at this point, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even some of Scooby-Doo's worst stuff they did, I think it swamps Powerpuff Girls. I think it's a much closer matchup than what some people might think. In my mind, I do think it's a lot closer, but I'm gonna go ahead and go Scooby-Doo.
Well, oh man, I usually when we do this, I know what I'm picking pretty much right off the bat. I'll make a whole song and dance about it, much to Kevin's dismay, but I honestly really don't know. Like I'm sitting here right now and I really don't know which show I would move on. But when I'm just starting to just talk out loud and just think about it, both of the shows did a lot of incredibly good stuff. They did a lot of stuff well. And they both have had their bad, right? Scooby-Doo has been remade a gazillion times, 15, different styles, just so many different spin-off shows. Some were weird, some were good, some were bad. Let's just be honest. Let's call it for what it is. Let's not overlook the Powerpuff Girls movies. I think there's multiple movies and their reboot series. The reboot series gets a double thumbs down for me. It was just not the same. Maybe it was just the voice acting. I mean, you did have Tara Strong in the original, and she did so many iconic roles. I mean, she's one of the best voice actors of all time. It's just so hard to replace that, right, with somebody else voicing Bubbles. What are you supposed to do there? Kevin, do you have a winner here? It's so hard to pick for me. It really is, because when I think of Scooby-Doo immediately, I go, man, Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island. That's one of my favorite childhood movies. Watch that over and over again. VHS copy and everything. The witch one that came around the same time.
Yes. Oh man.
The Hex Girls. That one was very good as well. The Cyber one was really good. Like a whole introduction to the internet. Whoa.
I think you're making your pick here.
I may be Brody, you may be right. You may be right. I just hate to make Powerpuff Girls just go away though, because that just had a profound impact on me as well. Okay, so talking it out, I'll make my decision. I think I gotta go with the Powerpuff Girls. Maybe it's just because Scooby-Doo's a 1 seed and I want a 1 seed to go down. I just think if we look at the meat of the show from our childhood, Powerpuff Girls was just a tiny bit better. And then I mean a fraction of a millimeter better. So anyways.
Here's what I will say. Scooby-Doo got chat's vote.
Okay.
So looking at this matchup, and I literally have been going back and forth listening to you guys talk and chat talk and things like that. I don't like putting both 1 seeds through either. Scooby-Doo in the brackets we originally looking at was hovering around a 3 or a 4 seed in most of them. And both Will and I agreed that it should be the 1 seed. And
there's a reason for that, though.
I'm with you. But Powerpuff Girls was actually the 1 seed in most of the ones we saw. So it's interesting to me in going back and thinking about that, us kind of switching up seeding. I think what I've kind of rested on with Powerpuff Girls, again, is the impact that I look at now, not when I was a kid, which I need to get out of that mindset because obviously that's not exactly what we're looking at right now. I think the key point in this matchup, though, is that Scooby-Doo has had a longer opportunity to be great, and they've fulfilled that, and they've also failed that. Powerpuff Girls hadn't, didn't, whatever. However, it was still great. But for me, I have to go Scooby-Doo again. I look at the matchups that these shows are going to meet in the next couple rounds, and I don't see Powerpuff Girls stacking up well enough. I think it's a great show. I'm glad, Will, that you put your vote there because I don't think it deserved to be swept. I think it's a fantastic show, and I think looking back at it has a ton of meaning. But Scooby-Doo, again, is going to be a tough out. It's been around since the 60s. It's still going around. Good, for better or for worse. I give mine to Scooby-Doo, and Scooby-Doo moves on.
And I'll just say, not disappointed.
No,
certainly,
you can't
certainly.
be disappointed with that.
That was a 1-2 matchup that was, I think, a lot tougher than our Nickelodeon one.
Yes.
They're both great shows in their own right. They both deserve to be there, but remember, only one can move on.
Yeah. I would have been mad if Powerpuff moved on. I really wouldn't have. I couldn't have been mad.
So, boys, that does it for our two brackets. Brody, I want to first thank you for coming in, and obviously we'll see you back here in next weekend to culminate these brackets, and hopefully we'll see you in the chat next Thursday helping us figuring out the Disney and the other category.
I'm excited for that one.
These are gonna be fun. This is a great idea. Again, just to recap for the night, guys. SpongeBob taking the Nickelodeon bracket, Scooby-Doo taking the Cartoon Network bracket, both the 1 seeds. Fought well in their matchups. Again, we appreciate you guys coming by.